What's up? Welcome back to Numbers Known. I'm here with Chris Bogue. He is better known as LinkedIn's creative consultant. He's a mentor. We work together at RP. Chris is a really awesome guy, and I wanted to talk to him in this format with three numbers that explain his why or his where are you in life right now. He brought three. I brought three numbers to challenge him with, and we'll flip a coin. Do you have a coin?
No.
I'm already a camera lens top. So
okay.
This is heads. The part that says Sony and the part that doesn't say Sony is tails. Call it in the air.
Heads.
It is tails. So I pick you go first. What's your first number?
Well, I feel this is unfair because I got the best numbers here. And the first number is the number 3.
A guess would be, I have no idea. 3 is a pretty good one. What's 3 mean to you?
So 3 is like the basic number of structure. I say comedy comes in threes a lot. This is a note I gave when I was doing like comedy stuff with Rev Partners over there. But I think a lot, not only in comedy, but like comedic structure. And a play in 3 acts has always been a thing. I feel like at the very least, you can boil any structure down to beginning, middle, and end. And yeah, if I need to write jokes all the time, companies pay me to write jokes. I have to write jokes for my own stuff. If somebody pays me to write a joke, I can't say like, I don't feel funny today because it's my job to be funny, you know? So the 3 means I always have something to do. And if anybody at home wants to know how to tell a joke, and you don't know how to tell a joke, just set up 3 things. Normal thing, weird thing. That's a joke. Or you go normal thing, weird thing, normal thing. Lists of 3 are just funny. And I could go on we could do an entire podcast series about the number of 3 because I feel this is such an essential number in storytelling. And I actually don't see LinkedIn people talk about it very often, which is weird because all my comedy mentors talked about it all the time.
Well, to clarify, it's not necessarily a list because I see here's 10 things you should do. Here's the top 5 best practices. It's more of a structural element. I mean, quite simply, beginning, middle, end. So if there is a context or an exposition and then a turn and then a resolution, I've heard it expressed that way, not necessarily with comedy. I'll give my number before we go deeper into that because you're going to be shocked at how good I am at this 2 episodes in. My number, first one for you is 60614. Do you know what that is?
60614?
That is the zip code for where Second City is in Chicago.
Okay, it sounded like a Chicago one. Okay. You know the Chicago zip codes better than me, apparently. I was like a 60613 guy for a while.
Speaking of the 3 comedy elements, if you don't know who the hell Second City is and who's graduated from there, then this will be the like nugget of your day, right? It's the oldest improv troupe in Chicago, 1959, and some alumni. I'll just rattle off a couple you may have heard of: Steve Carell, Tina Fey, Chris Farley, Stephen Colbert, Bill Murray, Amy Poehler, essentially the entirety of SNL cast, it seems. John Belushi, Keegan-Michael Key, Jason Sudeikis, George Wendt, Bonnie Hunt. They also had a spinoff that was SCTV, Second City TV, and some alumni from there. John Candy, Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, seems to be the Schitt's Creek cast, Dan Aykroyd. So you mentioned the 3 elements of comedy and like the 3 things you need for structure. If you don't know how to tell a joke, there you go, bam. Normal thing, fun. Why do you think improv is so important and so key to your role now?
The world has made everybody into an improviser, right? Because everybody's got to have content out all the time. All your stuff immediately becomes stale because 2 days from now, it's not going to be relevant anymore. So what Second City has always taught, what it continues to teach to today is like, how do you walk into a room with nothing and put up a full-length show that people are going to enjoy, people are going to feel emotionally connected to. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be intellectually satisfying. It's going to be emotionally satisfying. You're going to see real emotions. You're going to see crazy, ridiculous satire. And yeah, it's all comes down to this number 3.
Is there, I ask about the thread from improv to B2B, kind of the world we're in, right? B2B marketing, sales, you as a consultant. Is there another thread that ties the rules of improv in that you see day in, day out? Maybe you could give me, here you go, 3 examples where yes and would be a useful thing for a seller to know, or use physicality, show, don't tell, right? Like a demo. Do you have maybe a couple examples of those where improv rules actually translate well to, something our audience will be, caring about?
Yeah, because improv has a lot of great rules, and the biggest rule is like, hey, throw the rules out whenever you have to, because sometimes, if you got Tina Fey and Amy Poehler on stage, they can negate each other. And they can destroy the reality because they have so much trust between them that, like, if they want to break the rules, they can break the rules, But a lot of the rules, quote unquote, of improv exist because, again, you have to create something out of nothing with other people. So you don't really have time to sit there and nitpick the other person's idea because you are in the moment creating something together. So one improv rule that I think works splendidly in B2B is give gifts. Give gifts. Give gifts all the time. Everything you say, everything you do, every story you've ever been told, every experience you've ever had, everything about you is a gift. And, in improv, we say don't tell jokes, give gifts. You're not sitting there trying to think of how to make something funny. You're trying to think of, like, what can I give to this other person that would be interesting, that would be real, that would give them something to play with. And even in my background, I say I'm giving gifts all the time. I've got a saxophone and a clarinet and a synthesizer up against the corner. These are little visual clues about who I am, but oftentimes it's the jumping off point for somebody I'm on a call with. And that's the whole idea of improv, is like, who are you together? What are you doing in this moment that's interesting? And that's the thing they teach you in B2B is, like, if you're a sales rep, you do not want to be talking for most of the call.
Now we're going on to your second number. 3 was the first. I hit you with 60614, which is the second city zip code. You learned something today. What is your second number, Mr. Bogue?
I feel like the second number is obvious. It's 2.
There we go. So much
2 is almost as good as 3.
Already.
It's literally almost as good as 3. Assume as a B2B storyteller, you're never going to be number 1. You're just not. That number is taken, right? There's a lot of people out there who want to be number 1. Assume the buyer, assume your boss, assume, whoever in line, they're number 1, right? So you always got to start there. And again, this is a very freeing idea in improv. In improv, you are secondary to the scene. The scene is more important than you. It's not about being the main character. Actually, you learn in improv that the most compelling character is usually the guy who walks on stage and has one line and then walks off. The audience actually wants to see that guy more than they want to see the main character. I'm going to be the most useful person. I'm going to be the most helpful person. I'm going to be the most compassionate person they run into today. It's all filtered through that lens of, like, the other person is viewing themselves as the main character. So, like, let's tell the story that way. And when you don't have to be the main character, it's actually very freeing. I grew up in Chicago, so I was always much more of a Scottie Pippen than a Michael Jordan,
I'll say I've heard and agree with the concept before. You might not be an FDR, but be an Eleanor, kind of the, like, supportive function, right? Like, that entire thing, it's called 2 words, buyer's journey. It's about them.
Yeah, and it's a listening thing. Listening is a skill that most people aren't good at. So especially in sales or in marketing, if you can make someone feel heard, that's really all they need half the time. Because, again, they're doing it for their reasons, not yours. And when you give gifts, when you give them something to play off of and you listen to them.
My second number for you, speaking of 2, by the way, I can't wait to see your third number. I have a hunch.
You're never going to guess what it is.
What it's going to be. Second number for you, 14,089. Any idea what that is?
14,089. I don't know what that is.
It is the number of followers on LinkedIn you have as of about 30 minutes ago. So congratulations for that. Mr. Chris Bogue has nearly 15,000. We hope to get him there when this episode comes out. It'd be a massive victory for me and him and everybody involved if we were to accomplish that. How has being active on LinkedIn impacted you both personally and professionally?
LinkedIn has made me a lot more creative as a person. LinkedIn taught me to rely on myself. I did a lot of comedy for a lot of years, and I always had a writing partner. I always had somebody I wrote shows with. I always had a music director to write music. He was a good singer and he's a good musician. He was somebody who I looked up to a lot. And like, I was like, I could never, I didn't think I was good enough to do any of those things. And then, on LinkedIn, I kind of had to figure out what I was about. And, I try not to look at the follower count too much. I have my good days and I have my bad days. But whenever I have hit it out of the park, it's because I'm thinking about like, what would one other person react to if they were in the room? And it's like, I've gotten in trouble when like some company has me write some joke that clearly ChatGPT came up with. And it's like, okay, you're going for the most generic thing. It's going to go for the most generic audience. But it's like, this goes back to what we talked about with gift giving. It's like when you throw the thing out there that is true, it's really true and really honest and personal to you, that is a really special gift. All you got to do is play a little bit. Bring a little bit of playfulness into the game, bring a little bit of honesty, really try to play to the top of your intelligence every now and then and create something that's worthwhile, even though, LinkedIn is famously cringe. And like at the time of writing this, all the algorithm changes all the time. So right now, the big thing that the algorithm loves is the big fake story. So the algorithm right now wants you to like make a sarcastic, fake success post, and like that's what's really popular right now.
The Ken Cheng of is the algo right now.
Everybody is trying to ride the Ken Cheng wave 2 years after he started doing that, and it's like, hey, that's what the algorithm changes all the time. I came up during authentic LinkedIn, whereas like the more authentic and vulnerable and emotional you could be, the more the algorithm loved it. Now everybody loves the tongue-in-cheek, ironic, sarcastic motivation posts. I feel like so many people out there are chasing trends, and it's like usually the little particulars about human beings are actually quite interesting. And anytime I work with somebody, we always discover there's just like a gold mine of stuff about their life, about their job, about their interests, about their point of view on the world, about their processes. There's so much there to mine from.
3 best practices, rules, or insights that you've gained from the journey to almost 15,000 followers.
Yeah, decide how often you want to put stuff out. I think that's a big one. If you want to make 2 posts a month, I think that's fine, but you got to actually do it. If you want to be a little bit more serious about the content creator thing, maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to make 3 posts a week or 4 posts a week, whatever that you got, pick whatever number that is to you, and you got to stick with it for a while because you're going to get better. And so you put on the camera and you just do something fast and dirty and you put it out there, and then that's the thing that blows up and you realize you stumbled upon something great. You never would have got there if you didn't set that cadence for yourself. And it's like there's this theory that a lot of writers ascribe to where it's like you got to get all the bad writing out before the good stuff comes.
What's number 2?
Play to the audience that's there. This sounds counterintuitive, but oftentimes on LinkedIn, we are chasing around people that aren't actually there. I've noticed this a lot when I'm helping people build sales funnels on LinkedIn, partially because LinkedIn's suggestions for who you should connect with are bad. If LinkedIn had it LinkedIn's way, I would only connect with people that went to my college that haven't logged on to LinkedIn in the past 10 years. Trust that the audience is going to go there with you, and yeah, if you go for the thing that's honest, if you go for the thing that's real, the audience will surprise you.
Your third number, and I don't have a drum roll effect. Actually, I might have one. Stand by for production. Let's see if we have a Chris Bogue. Third number is
4. Damn it. It's the number 4. So this goes back into what we were talking about, how you got to decide, am I going to play into the trend or am I going to play against it? So realize that 3 is that structure, right? And like we're not going to spend too much more time on the number 3, but there's a psychological idea about why the number 3 works in joke telling, right? your first beat is like, I'm going to establish an idea. Second beat is I'm going to heighten the idea. And then third beat, you subvert the idea, right? Why did the chicken cross the road? I don't know. Why did the chicken cross the road? Give him something unexpected, you know? So it's like you set up the idea with the three. Once you get the three, like that is like a beginning, middle, and end. That is a self-contained idea, your 3-beat thing. I don't know if this is true anymore. I try not to talk too much about like, well, I ran my calculations in Salesforce, and so, because that all that stuff changes all the time, and it's always very specific to the organization and the circumstances around it. But I remember there was this Gong study that was going around years ago about how most sales reps give up after the third follow-up. It's like they reach out once, they reach out the second time, they reach out the third time, and they're so much more likely to get a response on the fourth. It is my theory that because once you go for that fourth time, the other person realizes, oh, I am the one who has to break the pattern. Otherwise, this is just going to keep going. You know, and this is not just in sales too. This is like you're texting your friend to like set up, oh, we've been meaning to go for brunch together. You know, your first time, your second time, your third time, things fall through, people get busy. That's usually when people you give up. If you go for the fourth time, they're like, okay, we just got to do this. You know, we either got to do this or we got to officially call it off.
Love that. I had a third number for you. And it is, we've discussed this already. So my research and knowing what I know about you, having worked with you, has paid off big time, I think. But in the interest of time, third number for you is 12. You will have no idea why 12. But I put that 12 is the number of total different notes there are in music. Shocker. Oh. I know there are 88 keys on a piano, but Chris, do you want to tell the people that there are only 12 notes? There's multiple octaves, there's multiple pitches, but you essentially have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then 5 sharps or flats as the entirety of the musical language.
Yeah, I think about this a lot because I'm a big fan of forms of communication where you don't need to speak the same language. And yeah, those 12 notes are the same no matter where you are. You go anywhere in the world, you can make music with people who don't speak the same language as you, because like music is its own language.
What would common tones be as far as like a non-musical example? I think you've given some already, but with this metaphor, does that trigger anything in you for some insider advice?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to assume I know what the other person's gonna say, and you know, like it goes back to the throwing out the thing that's honest instead of the thing that you think the other person wants you to say. I love and again, this goes back to gift giving, but it's like, yeah, I love throwing something weird out there and just like seeing what the other person does with it. And I think too often when we just assume we know what's going to come out of the other person's mouth, that's when we get into trouble. That's when we fall into cliches. That's when we stop listening. You know, you really have to treat every human being like their story matters, that they're saying something worth listening to. And you really do have to find a way to be genuinely interested in them, you know? But it's like, once you've adopted that mindset, you realize that you can go in there and you can win the day with something that's very simple, that would not be obvious if you broadcast it to 1 million people. But, you know, you find what's going on in that person's head, what's going on in that person's world, where do they see themselves in the story, and then you meet them there for just a moment. At the very least, you'll find something real, usually, you know, and that's more than most people get out of most things they interact with each day.
We're going to have to do another collaboration or interview that's more musically based, or do a skit. I'm sitting on some gold here, candidly, Chris. Thank you for being an inaugural guest too on Numbers Known.
I'd love to be back sometime. I always have a lot of fun watching your stuff, and yeah, it's like you're the classic example of somebody who's out there who I'm just like, oh, he's just doing his thing. He's not trying to copy somebody else's thing. This is a guy with a perspective on the world, with a lot of different interests, who is comfortable in his own skin, and I'm just enjoying what he brings to the table. So thank you for doing all that you do, Mr. Jones.
I appreciate that. If any skincare companies are looking to sponsor a fledgling podcast, there's a hell of an endorsement right there. Comfortable in my own skin.